Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're sharing the emotional story of Maya, a young woman who discovered that the people she trusted most could hurt her in ways she never imagined. Stay until the end to see how one heartbreaking day changed her life forever. Maya had always been the invisible daughter. At 26, she worked long hours as a registered nurse, often taking extra shifts so she could help pay her parents' mortgage and support her younger sister, Chloe, who was still in college. While everyone praised Chloe as the family's golden child, Maya quietly carried responsibilities without expecting applause. She believed that one day her parents would appreciate her sacrifices. On a rainy Friday evening, Maya finished a 12-hour hospital shift completely exhausted. As she drove home, another car suddenly ran a red light and slammed into the driver's side of her vehicle. The impact spun her car across the road before crashing into a guardrail. Pain shot through her body as shattered glass covered her clothes. Blood ran down her forehead, and she struggled to stay conscious while nearby strangers called 911. At the emergency room, doctors rushed Maya into surgery after discovering internal bleeding and several broken ribs. Her phone had survived the crash, and a police officer contacted her emergency contact, her mother, Linda. Maya assumed her parents would rush to the hospital the moment they heard the news. Hours passed. No one came. When Maya finally woke after surgery, she looked toward the hospital door every few minutes, expecting to see familiar faces. Instead, she only saw nurses changing shifts and worried families embracing their loved ones. Her heart sank as each hour slipped away. Trying to understand what had happened, Maya reached for her phone. Dozens of missed calls from coworkers filled the screen, but there wasn't a single message from her parents. Confused, she opened social media. Her stomach dropped. Her parents had uploaded smiling photos from a family barbecue. In one picture they laughed beside Chloe, holding plates of food under colorful lights. The caption read, "Finally, a day without the drama. Peace at last." Hundreds of friends had commented with laughing emojis and supportive messages, believing Maya had simply caused another family argument. No one knew she was lying in a hospital bed after nearly dying. Tears rolled down Maya's cheeks as she stared at the screen. She replayed every memory from childhood, every birthday they forgot, every achievement they ignored, every time they told her to stop being dramatic whenever she expressed pain. Somehow, even while fighting for her life, she had become the villain in their story. Just then, her best friend Sarah rushed into the room, still wearing her office clothes. She hugged Maya carefully, trying not to hurt her broken ribs. "I came as soon as I heard," Sarah whispered. "Your parents, they're not coming." Maya couldn't even answer. She silently handed Sarah the phone. Sarah read the post, her expression turning from confusion to anger. "They knew you were here?" she asked. Maya nodded slowly. Sarah looked back at the smiling family photo before gently squeezing Maya's hand. "They've made their choice," she said quietly. "Now it's time for you to make yours." Maya closed her eyes as another tear slipped down her face. Deep inside, she realized that surviving the accident might be easier than surviving the truth about the people she had spent her entire life trying to please. The next morning, Maya woke to the steady rhythm of hospital monitors and the ache of healing bones. Every movement reminded her how close she had come to losing her life. Sarah sat beside her bed, refusing to leave despite Maya insisting she should go home and rest. The friendship they had built over 15 years suddenly felt stronger than any family bond Maya had ever known. As the doctor explained that her surgery had been successful and that she would need months of rehabilitation, Maya nodded politely, but her thoughts remained fixed on one question: why hadn't her parents come? She had always forgiven their excuses, believing they loved her in their own complicated way, yet their social media post made it impossible to deny the truth. They hadn't simply failed to visit, they had publicly celebrated her absence while she fought to survive. Later that afternoon, Maya's phone finally rang. Her mother's name appeared on the screen. For a brief second, hope returned, and Maya answered immediately. Instead of concern, Linda's irritated voice filled the room. She complained that relatives had started asking uncomfortable questions after hearing about the accident and blamed Maya for making the family look bad. She even demanded that Maya remove a photo Sarah had posted showing flowers beside Maya's hospital bed because people were beginning to wonder why her parents weren't there. Maya listened silently, waiting for a simple question like, "Are you okay?" It never came. Her father briefly took the phone only to say they were busy and would visit when things settled down. Before hanging up, her mother reminded her not to exaggerate the situation online because people love family drama. The call lasted less than 3 minutes, yet it destroyed years of false hope. Sarah had overheard every word. Without saying anything, she reached over and ended the call before Maya could be hurt any further. During the following week, coworkers visited every day. They brought homemade meals, books, flowers, and handwritten cards filled with encouragement. Even patients whom Maya had cared for months earlier sent messages wishing her a speedy recovery. Each act of kindness highlighted the painful contrast between strangers who genuinely cared and the parents who couldn't spare an hour to sit beside her hospital bed. One evening, Maya opened social media again and discovered another family post. Her parents were smiling at a restaurant with Chloe, celebrating her latest academic achievement. The caption read, "Family is everything." Hundreds of people congratulated them, completely unaware that another member of that same family was still recovering from emergency surgery alone. This time Maya didn't cry. Instead, she quietly took screenshots of every post and every unanswered message she had sent over the years. She wasn't collecting evidence for revenge, she was collecting reminders of the truth so she would never again convince herself that she had imagined the neglect. After 3 weeks, Maya was discharged from the hospital. Sarah drove her to the apartment they had secretly arranged together while Maya recovered. It wasn't large or luxurious, but it was peaceful. For the first time in years, Maya realized she didn't have to walk on eggshells or constantly earn someone's approval. She transferred the remaining money she had been sending to her parents into her own savings account and informed the bank that she would no longer cover their mortgage payments. Within hours, angry phone calls and text messages flooded her phone. Her parents accused her of abandoning the family and called her selfish for refusing to continue helping them financially. Maya calmly read every message before blocking each number. As she looked out the apartment window at the setting sun, she understood that healing wasn't only about broken ribs and surgical scars. It was about finally letting go of the belief that love had to be earned through endless sacrifice. For the first time in her life, Maya chose herself, and although the decision hurt, it also felt like the beginning of real freedom. 6 months passed, and Maya slowly rebuilt her life one day at a time. Physical therapy strengthened her body, while counseling helped heal wounds far deeper than the scars left by the accident. She returned to work at the hospital on a part-time schedule, where her coworkers welcomed her back with applause, flowers, and tears of joy. Unlike the home she had grown up in, this place celebrated her resilience instead of dismissing her pain. She rented a cozy apartment filled with sunlight, adopted a gentle rescue dog named Luna, and began discovering what peace actually felt like. Every morning she reminded herself that healing wasn't about pretending the past never happened, it was about refusing to let the past control the future. Although she still thought about her parents from time to time, the constant ache in her heart slowly faded into acceptance. Meanwhile, reality finally caught up with Linda, her father, and Chloe. Without Maya's financial support, the mortgage payments quickly fell behind. Bills piled up, credit cards reached their limits, and the comfortable lifestyle they had enjoyed began falling apart. Friends who had once admired their perfect family image started asking uncomfortable questions after learning the truth about Maya's accident. Several relatives confronted them after discovering that Maya had spent years paying their expenses while receiving almost no appreciation in return. The carefully crafted image they had built on social media started to crumble. People no longer believed every smiling photo or cheerful caption. They began asking why their eldest daughter had disappeared from every family gathering. Linda tried to defend herself, but every explanation sounded weaker than the last. Eventually, even Chloe admitted she had ignored Maya's sacrifices for years because she had grown accustomed to being the center of attention. One quiet afternoon, Maya received an unexpected letter in the mail. It was from her father. Inside was a handwritten apology. He admitted they had failed her, taken advantage of her kindness, and allowed pride to destroy their relationship. He confessed that seeing other families support one another during difficult times made him realize how badly they had failed when Maya needed them most. A few days later, both parents appeared outside Maya's apartment asking for another chance. They looked older, tired, and deeply ashamed. For several minutes, no one spoke. Finally, Linda whispered through tears, "We're sorry. We should have been there." Maya looked at them calmly. For years she had imagined this moment, believing an apology would erase the pain. Instead, she realized forgiveness and reconciliation were two different things. She thanked them for acknowledging the truth but explained that trust could not be rebuilt with a single apology. She wished them well, hoped they would genuinely change, but gently closed the door without inviting them inside. It wasn't an act of revenge, it was an act of self-respect. Months later, on the anniversary of the accident, Maya returned to the same hospital, not as a patient, but as a volunteer speaker for trauma survivors. Standing before a room filled with people facing their own difficult recoveries, she shared her story with honesty and courage. She spoke about surviving the crash, the heartbreak of being abandoned, and the unexpected family she found among friends and coworkers. She reminded everyone that real family is defined by love, loyalty, and compassion, not simply by blood. When she finished speaking, the room erupted in applause. Several people approached her afterward, saying her story had given them hope to leave toxic relationships and begin healing themselves. As Maya walked outside into the warm evening sunlight, she felt lighter than she had in years. The scars on her body would always remain, but they no longer represented pain. They represented survival, strength, and a new beginning. Looking up at the clear sky, Maya smiled, knowing she no longer needed her parents' approval to feel worthy. She had discovered something far more valuable: peace, self-worth, and the freedom to build a future surrounded by people who truly loved her. The accident had nearly taken her life, but choosing herself had finally given her one.